So I got a question regarding music. Why is it that artists have to pay producers?
Peace, what's going down? It's DJ Payne 1. I had a lot of people reach out and share this video with me and ask me for my comments on it. Shout out to Killer Kells, who I believe is the artist who created the original video. And I really have to thank her for just being honest. I know a lot of producers could react negatively to the video. However, I really think it was an honest question. And it's a question that a lot of recording artists are asking. Why do I have to pay a producer? Right off the bat, the scenario that Kells describes is her going to a studio and asking for beats to create music with.
Like if I go to the studio right now with a producer, I gotta pay him for his beat, but he doesn't have to pay me to put my shit on his beat.
If you're asking for raw materials, you have to pay for the value of those materials and the labor that went into creating. It's like this: a restaurant buys tomatoes to make sauce with, and then they sell the products using that sauce for more than what they spent on the tomatoes. That's how they make their profit, but they don't get free tomatoes. Now, if a producer were to ask Kells for a verse for his project, then she's in a position to charge him, right? It's not always that straightforward though, so let's go a little deeper.
Like if I go to the studio right now with a producer, I gotta pay him for his beat, and when it goes out, he's gonna get paid again, and I'm gonna get paid for the first time.
She then says when she releases her song, the producer gets paid again. Yet that's not really how it works. That first fee paid to the producer is likely all she's ever going to have to pay. Why? Because she legally licensed the use of that beat and isn't obligated to pay the producer any royalties from sales until she covers her own costs. That's what recoupment is when you hear that word. And it's standard, so if the song doesn't sell a lot of copies, she doesn't have to pay that producer a cent beyond that initial licensing fee. And let's be honest, rappers can lease a beat nowadays for cheap. Their entire production budget for a whole album could cost as little as $250, right? And these are high quality beats, and they have full commercial rights to these beats, oftentimes unlimited. But let's say you as a rapper have a song that's selling really well. Producers aren't getting half of your sales money. I think that's a misunderstanding that a lot of rappers have. In the vast majority of all cases, that's not it. If you decide to go into an equal partnership, which I'll talk about in a second, that's different. But in virtually all other cases, producers are making cents on the dollar compared to the rapper for each sale of a song they produced. Now, the standard royalty rate for producers in the music industry is about 3%. It varies from time to time depending on how many sales a project makes. But that's a pretty low number. And when it comes to online sales, the terms of, say, a $30 lease probably allows that rapper to sell thousands of copies of the song without ever having to renew that $30 license. And that puts the recording artist at a huge advantage.
Why is any exchange of money going on in between us when the money's supposed to come from the outside?
I think a deeper issue is this: the average musician, producers included, doesn't see themselves as a small business. And unfortunately, the majority of them don't set themselves up as small businesses, and therefore they don't see business expenses as part of the process of creating a project for sale, right? They see them as unnecessary. So buying a beat is unnecessary, right? But when you treat yourself as a business, a necessary business expense is a write-off. And knowing that you paid for a quality service or material means your own product will be stronger and you won't have to deal with any BS in the future. I'll talk more about this later. So why should the rapper pay the producer, right? When you as a rapper or singer become a brand that is releasing music, you are the business, and you're contracting the producer to perform a service, right? The person starting virtually any small business takes a major risk by investing their own money or getting a loan or a third party's money to invest in their business, which they have to pay back. And their faith in themselves and their ability to run a successful business is what drives them. Some fail, some succeed. It's the same with rap. Not everybody becomes a superstar. Not everyone can become Drake overnight. But why would you let that stop you from investing in yourself? People are always talking about big risk, big reward, but it's easier said than done. But let's talk about the rewards. Rappers can get paid to perform. Rappers can sell their merchandise. Rappers can get endorsement deals. Rappers can charge for features. None of this has anything to do with the producer. All this money goes right to the rapper. So there's the reward. It favors the recording artist. Also, if and when a rapper signs to a major label, unless he signed a production deal or some other kind of agreement with a single producer, none of the producers on his or her project get any piece of that advance. So when you see news of rappers signing these $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 million deals, that's their money. The producers don't get a piece of that. Now, lastly, if the song does blow up, it's likely generating a lot of performance royalties. And that comes from streaming services, radio play, licensing, etc. And yes, the producer is entitled to half of that money. But guess what? The money doesn't come out of the rapper's pockets. No, that money comes from the PROs. They pay that out, and they collect that money from the various companies that play the music. You know, Spotify, a radio station, MTV. So once again, the rapper is not paying the producer a second time at all.
So, to me, it's a collaboration of music. You're the producer, I'm the artist. We both need each other to make this work. So why is it that I have to pay you and you don't have to pay me?
I love partnership situations. I love working with artists who have similar goals, solid fan bases, and experience in the game. And 50-50 splits are good and fair, but both parties have to put in equal work, have equal investment, and equal commitment. I've been in too many situations that were more like 70-30 or 80-20, where I was doing all the work. I'm talking about producing, recording, mixing, mastering, graphic design, marketing, promotions, booking, and my brand was stronger. And I was still splitting the profits 50-50. And here's something else about partnerships that you probably didn't expect me to say. Producers are sensitive. So are engineers. And a lot of them don't know about the business either. And a lot of them aren't very professional. So they're not always the type of people you want to enter into these 50-50 handshake agreements with. Personally, if I were a rapper, I'd just pay whatever small fee an up-and-coming producer is asking for, get the agreement in writing, and move on. Because listen, if you don't pay them and get the terms clear, down the line they could throw a fit, take legal action against you, and at very least get your song taken down or make your life a nightmare. And trust me, I've seen it happen. It really all comes down to conducting yourself as a legitimate small business. It's not always just a matter of two musicians hanging out and just vibing to music. It's got to go deeper than that, because once somebody thinks you're making money, once a producer thinks you're making money off of them, then they start to get paranoid. Even if you're not making money off of them, even if you're not hiding anything, they might get paranoid and they might act on their emotions. So just treat others how you want to be treated. Treat them as professionals. You want to be treated as a professional. Pay them what they ask for. They can't say anything later on. You save yourself a lot of headache. And as I said, production these days isn't expensive. It's not a major expense. Leases are a great compromise for producers and recording artists, in my opinion. So I hope I explained in a logical manner why you as a rapper should pay a producer for making beats for you, and why you as a producer deserve to be compensated for your work. Because honestly, without these kinds of conversations, we argue, we don't learn from one another, we don't respect one another, we don't understand where the other person is coming from. And the more producers know about business, and the more the recording artists that they work with know about business, the more success they will have when they come together. Much success to all of you. I'm DJ Payne 1. Peace.